Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Redmaster, long time no see, and today we're back at it discussing the newest mini card set coming into Cards and Castles 2 very, very soon. Now, if you missed the announcement, I don't blame you. It was a very sneaky way they did of announcing it. They kind of throw up a YouTube video on the channel as well as did some pings. So if you're part of the community Discord, you would have already known about this. Or maybe if you are a part of the Discord and haven't checked it in a minute, you also might be unaware. But today I'm going to give you my thoughts on some of the newest cards coming into the game. They are currently set to go live, I think, around the end of the month. No specific date has been set for this yet, as well as no, clarification on if there's going to be like an exclusive offer or any sort of pack for them. So we're kind of in the dark about that still. And by the way, we'll note that these cards are subject to change before the date goes live. So what you see here might not be what you see in the live game in terms of maybe exact numbers and such like that. But I think we're pretty close to it where I think it's safe to say that these are pretty much final, if not very close to final. So only maybe some minor tweaks are needed, but still a very exciting time for sure. I'm looking forward to giving my thoughts and takes on these because there are some cool things in here that maybe are slipping by you if you don't look hard enough, or maybe you've been on the loop for a minute and need a refresher on what things can really work together. Either way, I got you covered, so let's go ahead and delay no further. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the brand new cards. Alright, so here they are, all of the brand new cards coming into Cards and Castles 2 pretty much by the end of the month. As you can see, a little something for everyone in this build. No faction was left out. Some got a little bit more than others for sure, but definitely a whole mix of interesting things you can kind of take away from this set. So we're going to break it down. We're going to kind of go set by set, or faction by faction here, to kind of make it easier to digest some of these things. So let's go ahead and start all the way out with the Viking build. Alright, so let's go ahead and start off in the Viking faction. Now, as you can see, these guys got 3 new spells, all orientated towards Frostbite and Freeze. It makes sense. The City of Gods expansion that we got pushed a lot towards the lightning side of Viking. So it makes sense that we're getting the free support now to kind of balance out between the two factions. And these are all honestly great support cards for Freeze. Some of them look a bit stranger than others, but I think all of them serve their own really strong and powerful purpose. For example, let's start off with Biting Cold. Biting Cold for 1 gold freezes any enemy unit with 3 attack or less. Now that is board wide, not in a specific area like Blaze or anything. This will chunk freeze off everything under 3 attack. And crucially, when you play this, ideally maybe in turns 3, 4, maybe 5 even, you should already have Penguin on the board. And Penguin, being able to gain attack power off of every instance of a Frostbite, can easily grow to be pretty massive. I think this set of cards that they gave us also emphasizes the fact that Penguin is a star player inside of your Freeze builds. It's hard to sometimes pull off Penguin, I get, because he doesn't always show up on time, and when he doesn't get the he doesn't get the buff from anything that was frozen over in the rest of the game. So a little annoying, but this should hopefully kind of catch Penguin up to where he should be. If you don't have him, or if you throw him out on curve turn 3, hit a Biting Cold in the following turn 4 and freeze off everything. That means the Penguin can just walk right through. Penguin's got a massive stat boost, and crucially, you can save some of your other freeze cards for the castle, which you can then use a huge shatter effect on. Like Ice Drake can be able to freeze the castle, save that freeze, use Biting Cold, and then let the Penguin kill off the castle with the Ice Drake as a tag team. I think that's crucially very, very important for freeze strategies. And speaking of freezing spells, Ice Beam, the next card in Vikings, Frostbite a unit, and then your next turn, Frostbite a random enemy unit. So a duration of kind of 2 freezes, and if you're smart about it, you can, of course, position the Frostbite of the random enemy unit to hit whatever you want. Maybe say keep something alive, or specifically kill off other smaller creatures, so that way a bigger threat is frozen off on the board somewhere in that following turn. You can always do that too. There are ways to kind of make Ice Beam a bit more powerful than it sounds on paper, but crucially again, it's that Frostbite effect that carries over and procs multiple units that is able to increase the power of Penguin. Again, I really do think that we're emphasizing Penguin as the key player. So having him pop off multiple times over and grow to be incredibly big and buff and scary is the right move. And of course, with the Penguin being the star of the show, you want him to survive, so maybe give him a bit of Druid support or Crusader support to kind of heal up, and you've got yourself a solid, you know, Winter, Freeze, Frostbite-esque deck. And speaking of Penguin, let's go ahead and talk about our last card here, the Ice Walker Giant. A big lad at 3/8, 10 gold. It's got Guardian, it's got Shatter, so of course it can proc the Shatter effect on Frostbitten units. But crucially, that last little effect I think is pretty big. It summons 2 Penguins just out of nowhere. It doesn't have to be in your deck or anything, it just summons 2 Penguins. And we talked about how all of these Penguins benefit off of the Ice Beam effect. Imagine carrying more than just 2 Penguins in your deck. That's what Ice Walker Giant does. I mean, you kind of already maybe do carry more than 2 Penguins because of Arctic Explorer or, you know, other Frost-generating cards like Halls of Frost or Frost Halls. But I think this is a very cool card. I mean, it's a big chonker. It's got a hefty, nice stat line there. It's got the Shatter effect to benefit off all the other free stuff you're doing. And it summons 2 Penguins, so you can kind of keep the momentum going. It just pushes all of the Penguins forward. Okay? It's like a Penguin gunship, just drops them right off. And of course, you can then benefit the Penguins by doing more freeze effects while they're already so close to the castle, and then they just start beating up and going ham. So I think that's a cool little support card for the Shatter ability. If you really want to rock with the Penguins, Ice Walker Giant I think might be a fun inclusion for you, and it looks really cool. I think I've seen this card in the gameplay video that Bob posted. It's a goddamn glacier. It's it's fantastic. I love it. But yeah, all 3 of these Viking cards here, it seemed to be very orientated towards the Frostbite side of things. Which again, I think makes sense because we haven't seen a lot of Frost support coming out of City of Gods. This is a nice way to kind of rectify that. But crucially, that's all we have for the Vikings here, so let's go ahead and jump to Crusaders. And yeah, jump to Crusaders, and we only got 1 card to show for it, unfortunately, and that is going to be the Shield of Light. It chooses 1, give your units +1 health, or give your castle +2 HP. Now, crucially, I think Shield of Light is going to be paired up very nicely with another card here that we'll go over later, but more so in the strategy, so I'll save it for when we kind of get to there. Honestly, it's kind of a cheap little spell here. Nothing too crazy, honestly. The Global Heal is nice for Swarm builds, though, if you're rocking the... the black-yellow undead stuff with zombies. Throwing a Shield of Light into your build, or any sort of Swarm deck for that matter, throwing this in there is like a cool little Crusader tech card. Isn't a bad idea. You know, you can make everything from a 2/2 to a 2/3, and crucially, you know, the bigger the Swarm is, the harder they are to deal with. So yeah, I mean, maybe consider if you're playing some Swarm stuff. But we'll go over really the big synergy of it later on in the video. But we should acknowledge that at least it is the only Crusader card we're expected to see here in this set. And similarly, if we jump over to Warlocks, we do have Time Spiral. Again, a single card for the faction, but this one's a legendary, and it's kind of an interesting one. For 5 gold, you transform all drakes in your hand into legendary dragons of the same color. So legendary dragons, you think of Rakanoth, Dramoth, Yenaroth, Vilaroth, Wotan, Mordanoth, and the Life Giver, I believe. And the Stone Dragon, right, those are the I forgot the neutral one for a second. It's the Stone Dragon. But crucially, being able to create multiple instances of those, multiple copies of those, is pretty interesting. I do have an issue with Time Spiral, though. I feel like it's pretty hard to use as a card. Having the dragons sit in your hand and then, you know, enough to proc off of Time Spiral. Not to mention they just then sit in your hand and don't appear onto the board. You know, I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant about Time Spiral. I'm very curious as to what builds really make it work. I'm assuming you want a deck that really relies on a lot of draw, so maybe like the Crusaders get thrown in there here. You put, what, Faithful Drake, Fire Drake, and the Stone Drake, Fire Drake, Faithful Drake. Those create Dramoth, Rakanoth, and the Stone Dragon. Maybe you throw in a couple temples there to generate those extra, you know, random drakes. That way you have some variety in your legendary dragons. But I don't know. It seems very interesting. It's kind of quirky, but will it see a lot of success? I'm not sure. I'm not sure just based on what we see with dragons. in general. I mean, they have the potential. There's some beef there. But is Time Spiral enough to really, like, push him to a new level? I'm not entirely sure. I want to see what decks can do with that. So in the meantime, we'll leave it be. I think it's a very cool card that'll come out of the set for sure. And the art is just beautiful on it. I love that sort of like wizard, maybe blood magic here, morphing the dragons. Very, very, very nice stuff. I like it a lot. And next up, we move to the Pirates, who got a bit of a Last Will support in this little set here. Start off with Treasure Hoarder. For a Last Will, increases your max gold by 1. If you have 10, draw a card. Very on par with what we're seeing out of Pirates now for ramp. There are 2 cards, Salahar Voyager and Merchant's Favor, that just outright state increase max gold by 1. I think it's supposed to be a more efficient form of ramping. It gets you to your bigger plays faster. So having Treasure Hoarder in there as another ramp tool can be eye-catching, I think. Especially if you don't want to play the spell and if you want to actually have a body to utilize. The issue is with Hoarder, though, you're not getting the ramp immediately. You have to let it die out. I think it might be a little harder to pull off. Not to mention, if you're running this in a Last Will deck, it does sell your Last Will pool a bit. You know, if you want to play, like, say, Document Forgery and you just get Treasure Hoarder multiple times, you're just doing what? Drawing cards at that point. Not exactly what you want to be seeing out of your big repeat Last Will effect. It's fine. It's ramp. It's more for the Pirates to kind of have that as their identity for ramp rather than sticking to Treasure, which I feel Treasure has become more of a universal tool. But yeah, it's fine. It's a card. I'm not super pumped about it. Plus, I think it sullies the thing it actually is supposed to be a part of, and that being the Last Will archetype. I think you have stronger options that you want in that pool, and we'll talk about a Last Will card that I really am excited about in this set soon. But yeah, Hoarder is okay. Not super excited about it, though. I am excited, though, about Davy Jones. For a Warcry, you get to summon for 8 gold, excuse me, you get to summon 2 Last Will units from your deck and put their stat lines at 3 and 3, which I think is pretty important because there's some expensive Last Will cards out there that have difficulty, I think, getting into the rotation fast enough for Document Forgery. I think Davy Jones is a nice way to kind of help skip some of those steps that you need to take to kind of get a Last Will rotation going. And Davy Jones, of course, puts them at 3-3, so depending on what you have, it could be a downside, but at the end of the day, you want these cards to die off faster, so I think that's a fair trade-off for having them be summoned immediately. And again, Davy Jones is a card I think is going to be great for a strategy that I want to be cooking up here in the new set based upon a card we'll see later. But I do think Davy Jones is a nice addition to the Last Will archetype. It gives them a bit more gas to their fire. It helps them kind of skip a couple of steps and get straight to the Document Forgery, which is the whole idea behind the deck list. You want to pop off Document Forgery to allow multiple big effects to be popping off, and we'll talk about one of those later. But other things you could do, like summon multiple Living Vines, Saboteur is another great one that you could pull off here. You know, we saw the Vaskerheim Penguin Last Will earlier as well. You could put in a strategy that allows you to summon out hordes and hordes of penguins with Frostbite, which could be interesting. You know, it's not exactly a hard combination to pull off, so I think Davy Jones is going to have a lot of fun uses here in the future. But for now, let's go ahead and talk about the next cards. Alright, now we'll jump to Ninjas, who actually got a bit of support this time around. Ninjas got a couple of things to boost them up just a little bit here. I'll start off here with Momentum. Allows you to draw a card, and if you play it this turn, repeat this effect. So kind of a continual draw engine. Kind of what Swift Strike used to be for those Warlock and Ninja builds that went around. Of course, Swift Strike, draw a card, you play it, damage to the whole board. This time, though, if you can keep playing your card, you can keep drawing more and more, which could be very beneficial to aggro decks, I think. If you're able to play, you know, a Momentum on turn 8 or something like that, and then keep playing your smaller units that you keep drawing off of Momentum, think about how much deck you can go through and how much damage you can put on the board, or how much presence you can put on the board with that. Momentum, I think, definitely a scary card. And I'm trying to think what else you could really use it for, though. I mean, it is just a 2 gold draw, which sometimes isn't the worst, but Yeah, I think this is going to see a lot of play in those aggro builds that want sort of a faster game to go by. Expect to see Warlock Ninja for your aggro again, because this momentum is just going to keep popping off, you know. Momentum into Imp, into, you know, like Killer Monkey, into, you know, I mean, sure, they're not very big units, but you get the idea. This could pop off in a big way if you let it, so... Very, very scary card. I'm very nervous what that's going to do. Following that, you have the Hidden Tanuki. Replace a unit to gain +1 health to make it a 3/5. Honestly, cool. It's another replacement card for Kage. I think Kage is going to be the one really utilizing Tanuki. Because, of course, when Kage gets replaced, he goes back into the hand for free. And this allows you to have a 3/5 onto the board to kind of take his place and then summon Kage again. Kind of more iterations of you playing said Kage, which is... fine at the end of the day. Not seriously offensive. I do think Kage needs a bit of the help there with that, so I'm on board for Tanuki. You know, bringing up more replacement support. Other than that, though, nothing super crazy in my opinion. It's another replace unit for the pile, which we see, you know, Kunoichi, Badger, Mooncast. I think out of all of them, Tanuki may be doing the worst on replace, but he's there to help facilitate Kage some more. So, yeah, I'd say that's fine. And then, of course, you got the Kaiju God. The 3 gold 10/10 that must replace a unit with 7 or more HP to be played. This, I think, could be a very dangerous tool for Crusader or Druid variants with ninjas. You know, having a small unit turn 4 or 5 that just happens to gain some big health stats. And then all of a sudden, Kaiju God comes down at 10 attack and kind of gets right up in there. It seems very prevalent. It seems very, very powerful. And I mean, we already know like, you know, how scary it is for King Kaiju to hit the board at 7/12. At 10/10, this thing seems like a very solid tool to make replacement decks stronger. You know, we talked about Kage and Tanuki being a pair in their own replace strategy, but this could be an entirely different replace strategy on its own. Get something close up to the castle, get it strong enough throughout the game, and then boom, Kaiju God hits the board, and a 10/10 is now in your face. Not a good sign. Not a good sign at all. So, keep an eye on Kaiju God. He's gonna do some funny stuff. I might try some funny stuff with him to see if it works out. But also, really, really cool card, design-wise. I think it's beautiful. Kind of reminds me of a fusion of, like, Godzilla and Mothra into one to create a very, like, more dangerous beast. I think it's going to be a really, really fun replacement strategy if you want to kind of switch things up from the Kage or, you know, other kind of surprise, like Woten. If you want to surprise yourself from Woten a bit, go with Kaiju God. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for you. Alright, and here we have the Druids, and honestly, one of my favorite cards coming out of the set here, Mushroom Man. Finally going to get Mushroom Man inside of the game, with a last will effect of doubling the stats of a random unit in your hand. So, we talked about that deck a while back with Davy Jones and last will support. That's kind of what I was implying here with Mushroom Man. Imagine you summoning Davy Jones, pushing out a mushroom for free, having it set at 3/3, having it die out, and then maybe buffing like a Sea Leviathan in your hand to create a 2020 sea monster. That to me sounds crazy, and not to mention you being in Druid having access to Genesis to copy over those large Leviathans, I think is a very, very dangerous and cool deck to try out. And Mushroom Man, a huge component of that, being able to double the stats of a unit. Now, it is random, so you know, if I tend to have more than one unit in my hand, it could be going to something else. But maybe if you're running sea monsters who are already pretty big, Mushroom Man doubling those doesn't sound too bad either, in my opinion. Doesn't sound bad at all. So I'm very much excited for Mushroom Man. I think stat-wise, it makes sense why he's 7 gold. You know, doubling the stats of a random unit could go very crazy. You know, if you have some of those big cards. Or like Kaiju God even. We talked about Kaiju God a while ago. Think about summoning Kaiju God with a Mushroom Man and then pushing out like the HP on a unit there. That's 20 damage right there sitting in the hand. That's another crazy potential for Mushroom Man. Think about those high base stats, folks. That's where I think Mushroom Man is going to thrive. So yeah, very excited to try out. And again, I think this might be the coolest card coming out of the set, in my opinion. I think this is going to be the barn burner card. Although I say that now, and you know, turns out Mushroom Man can't double jack for shit. That's going to be the luck I have with it. But anyways, moving on, of course, we have another big card here in the Druid to talk about here, and that is the Field of Screams. Another ritual card, which we haven't seen a lot of. I think the only other rituals that exist are Kraken, Screams, and the Rune of Thunder. So this is our 4th ritual that we're getting in the game, and it summons out just straight 7 Sunflowers. That doesn't seem too bad, especially because Sunflowers, I think, need the support. When you talk about Sunflowers and generating Sunflowers, the only cards that we've seen in general here, let me just go ahead and break that down for you real quick. The only thing that we've had with Sunflowers so far are Thorn Drake, which summons just a singular one, the Knight, which summons 2 of them, and the Season of Growth, which summons 3. So in total, if you have, say, like all of these components in your deck, you're getting what? 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 6, and then 6 here is 12. All of which can also die very easily early on, depending on what your opponent's running or playing. Because they all start out at the 1/1 and have to grow with each overheal. And that's why we talked about the Crusader card earlier, the Shield of Light being prevalent in the deck. I do think Shield of Light's going to be a barn burner of a card for the Sunflowers, because giving that +1 HP to everything when they're starting out or spawning out early means they automatically all go to 2/2. And with Field of Screams, summoning 7 2/2s doesn't seem like the worst idea possible. So, and not to mention, maybe you got a Field of Screams, and then following that, you put out a Season of Growth, another Shield of Light on there, and you get even more. You get 10 Sunflowers. So, I think Field of Screams is the boost that Sunflowers needed to kind of push forward more into relevancy. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of them as people try out those healed builds with, you know, Crusader, Druid. The 2 factions that literally have the best healing for each other thrown into one deck for the Sunflowers, and that's a crazy matchup right there. That's a crazy combination of cards. So Field of Screams, definitely looking forward to seeing what it can bring to the Sunflowers. I think we're going to be seeing probably some more Sunflowers for sure. And yeah, I think we should we'll check out what else. I mean, that's a hard transition for me to pull off. I'm sorry. That was a hard transition to pull off. You know, it's sometimes not always easy to kind of hop between card to card here, but let's go check out the Necromancer card, shall we? All right, and much like the Crusaders and the Warlocks, Necromancer's also only getting 1 card in this mini set here, and that is the Skeletal Bear. Pretty much plays like any of the bear cards that we've seen with Northwood and Polar Bear, except this time it benefits off of the skeletons. I think it's a nice touch, to be honest. It gives Norabon a bit more to work with in the skeletal pool to be summoned, so I think that's a nice little plus there. Also gives some much needed beef to the faction, or to the archetype, I should say. A lot of what the skeletons were doing here, because let's go ahead and show you guys. Let me show you here. A lot of the other sort of skeletal support here was very lacking in raw stat power. You know, Skeletal Dog at 2 HP, the Bone Drake at 3 if you put it with the Tombstone, 2 here, 1 here. This is a 1/4, not the worst, but still under an attack power, so it's really going to be chipping around on the board here. And even some of the bigger ones, like 2, 4, and 4, 3 for 6 gold. Not very stat heavy. Skeletal Bear, I think, is a nice way to kind of fix that if you're looking for more beef in your faction, in your archetype. It allows you to just create a big 5/7, which we've seen from Polar Bear and the Northwood Bear. Not always easy to contend with those big statted bears right away. They usually take some time to get rid of. And in that time, you can probably set up more for your tombstones or more to summon off of Norabon, which is, of course, very prevalent because you want enough skeletons to pull off your big daddy Mordennoth. You can also hold the Skeletal Bears in hand for Mordennoth. It's more damage for Mordennoth decks in general, so that could be a very nice touch if you want to, say, replace one of your other old beef cards that you were running with Bear. I think it's a great touch there for sure. I think it absolutely helps you in the long run. But other than that, nothing too crazy, because we've already seen the power of what bears can do. It's nice that kind of each faction to be getting their own bear of sorts. I hope that we can maybe find more for the others, but we'll see. I mean, ninjas already have Panda, so do we give them another, like, straight up bear like this? I don't know. But yeah, let's go ahead and check out the last cards, though, as we hop into our neutrals to round out this review. All right, and neutrals honestly getting the biggest buff of of the mini set. It seems like having the most cards at 5 new cards, all of which don't seem super important or impactful like some of the other ones we've seen today, but still good in their own right. So we're gonna go ahead and break down all of them for you. Starting off with, of course, the first one here, the Drawbridge Salesman. For 1 gold, it's a 1/3. You get both. You give both castles, you and your opponent, +3 health. Fine. It's a bit of a gimmicky card in my opinion, but one that kind of helps out with the aggro stuff. You're having trouble if you're realizing that your pocket meta is filled with a lot of burn stuff or a lot of aggro rush stuff. Salesman's a nice way to kind of boost you up a little bit to keep you alive in the game for longer. Sure, it gives your opponent some extra juice, but if they already are at 19 gold, what's 3 more if you're gonna swing back and beat them anyways? So yeah, nothing much to say though with Salesman. He's gimmicky, he's funny, he protects you from the aggro and the rush and the burn, but other than that, I don't think it's gonna be super impactful. Next up, you got the Crowing Rooster. Comes in at 2/3 with a War Cry for removing 1 counter from all friendly inert units, which is very prevalent. Of course, inert units, let's go ahead and quickly review those for you if you don't remember them or remember all of them. You got Stone Drake, Earth Titan, Doomship, Gorgon. Well, Gorgon makes a unit inert, so it doesn't really count in here. Gargoyle, Wood Knight, Stone Drake, Earth Titan, Doomship. Those are your inert units, which I think is a fine selection. We've seen how prevalent Doomship is in pirate decks, so taking down those counters even further with the Rooster can be pretty good. It's it's a 2-for-1 inert counter there. Getting rid of things like Stone Drake could be cool, or Gargoyle as well. Gets rid of their inert after castle damage. What if you don't have the castle really in line for damage? Put it with your Warlock aggro builds. You can make the Rooster plus Gargoyle appear on turn 6, or just Gargoyle into Rooster on turn 5, and then boom, you got yourself a rampaging Gargoyle, which is in and of itself not easy to deal with. 6/4 with the regenerate, that could take a huge chunk out of the castles of your opponents. But also things like Stone Drake, we've seen them being prevalent as well. Earth Titan, I don't know if it has been as relevant as it has, but with Rooster, we could see the comeback for Earth Titan. Being able to play Rooster, chopping down Earth Titan to, actually, maybe not... yeah, it chops down by 1 because it would get rid of the inert counter. You'd have to play the rest of the spells to decrease that off of Earth Titan. But still, I think Doomship, Stone Drake, Gargoyle, all really benefiting off of that. Wood Knight, you could probably easily get a heal off somewhere as well, so that's not really a big concern. If you want to throw it in, cool. But I don't think you need the Rooster to reactivate your Wood Knights, to be completely honest. The other ones, though, getting a huge boost is helpful, and hopefully that means we'll see more of Doomship. Maybe see more of Gargoyle, get him the much-needed love that he deserves. And Stone Drake can be more prevalent as a unit to just move around, not just sit on the board. Usually Stone Drake, it takes a while for them to activate because their opponent is so good at really navigating around the spells, to then, all of a sudden, it's turn 10, and, oh, the Stone Drake is activated. I can kill it off very easily, so... yeah, it is what it is, but I think Rooster is kind of a cool little tech card for those inert stuff if you're running it. And speaking of tech cards here, Fluffy Sheep, the next one, your next beast costing 1 less. I think very important for the beast archetype. We know how expensive those beasts can be. Things like the big old... well, hold on, let me go ahead here and reorganize into seeing some beast stuff here. Oh, I got rid of the beast thing. My bad. But yeah, things like Fenrir, Owlbear, Werewolf, all being able to be cheaper in the hand could be really nice there. Kind of a goofy little card for the beast strategy. I don't expect it to be super prevalent because I think Wolf is the better earlier game unit for that. Maybe it replaces Wounded Deer, I'm not sure, but Deer is also at 3/5, so... it's neat, it's cool, it's more support for beasts, which is cool. I don't think beasts got a whole lot of support in the City of Gods there, if I remember correctly. Hold on, let's type. Yeah, they got Fenrir, they got Werewolf, they got Rat in City of Gods, so they need a little bit more. I think the Sheep is a nice tech card, but I'm not super crazy about it per se. Following that, you got Happy Duck. Oh, my bad. Hold on. We switched. There we go. Hold on. There we go. Next up, you got Happy Duck, which is a fantastic addition to the game. For a war cry, you draw a card. We're returning back to the, you know, the time of just straight up 2 gold for draw. We saw that previously in the game, I think back in older iterations of the game, but now we're seeing it finally come back. And it might be competing out with cards like, hold on, let's see here. Yeah, it might be competing out with cards like the Leatherbound Books here with that last rule of drawing a card. This one now is just a straight, you know, draw card for Warcry, and you'll be fine. So, I like how they're kind of giving us that tool back if we so wanted to. If we realize that we need to draw more immediately, it's there for us. With the proper stat line flip here, if you want books, it's more attack power, but you draw it when it dies. Versus your stats are, you do weaker damage, but you get the card immediately. So... And I think most people are going to go for having the card immediately to plan out their next turns a bit better here. Having access to more draw right away is oftentimes what people want to do. So, yeah, we're probably going to be seeing ducks more and more pop up. And then finally, our last card here, we've got the Stone Revenant. For 4 gold at a 4/5, you can do a Warcry of 1 damage to everything. Plus, got that Guardian effect. Neat little AoE stuff here. Also has no inert stuff like the Earth Titan did. So, nice little kind of golem that you can use right away. Crazy enough. Again, nothing super crazy with this card. It's a kind of AoE 1 damage dealer. Helps you deal with some swarm stuff. You find that to be the case here. Also can protect your castle as well on Guardian. So you can kind of come down, deal damage, push things off, and then protect the castle as well. So things have to go through him. Just seems like a cool tech card, if anything. Utility, even. Nothing really reaches out to me and says, you know, oh, include this card in deck right away. At the moment, it just seems like, because 4/5, 4 gold, nice stats, decent ability, just a fair card. So I hope someone gets to use Revenant though and proves me wrong with that. I think he's got. I think it'll be funny if someone decides to do some kind of big Revenant, you know, initiative type plays with him, but we'll see. We will see indeed. Alrighty, and with that being said, that concludes our little mini review, per se, of all of the new cards coming in. So my initial reactions and takes on them before they go live, as soon as potentially next week even. You know, don't hold me to that exact number, but they did note that, you know, around the end of August, we'll be seeing a couple of these new cards. So I figured I'd drop in, share some thoughts with them, and share some ideas I have with you guys, maybe to inspire you, or get your mind thinking as well of what you could build with some of these, and maybe catch you up too if you didn't even know that they were coming out. So I hope you did enjoy this video though. I seriously do appreciate you sticking around and watching if you're this far in. You know, it's been tough for the YouTube channel, I will admit. There's been things that have really demotivated me from making videos, but hey, I felt inspired after seeing this new set, and maybe we'll hop into some more deck videos and some gameplay stuff once again. You know, I've never truly gone from the community, but I've certainly felt like this past year has been more of like the exploring myself year with content and breaking off from YouTube, so to speak, and you know, I'm trying out more things. And if you want to check out me trying those things, feel free to drop by on Twitch. We're a lot more active there these days, making streams not only on Cards and Castles, but other games and other things we're doing. We're exploring the creator scene. So you want to drop by and be a part of our card game community or my content community in general, you know, feel free. Drop by the Twitch channel, drop into the Discord, which will be down below as well. Or drop into the Cards and Castles Discord as well. Discord for Cards and Castles 2 going strong after all. So hop into that and you'll be notified when the cards go live directly as they do. First mention of the cards that'll go live, it'll be you who knows when you're in the Discord. But yeah. I'm trying to put some more videos together, and we'll definitely see some more videos for sure when the new cards come out, because I'm excited. I'm motivated to deck build again, so I'm looking forward to it. But until that time comes, folks, thank you guys for watching. Be well, stay safe. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. It's the best way you can support your channel at no additional cost. I gotta remember my YouTube stuff. I haven't done them in a while. Feel free to subscribe. It costs nothing to you. If you like the video, please share, like, comment, all that stuff. Say I'm messy. I'm messy with my YouTube outro. But that's how you know I'm really getting back into it. I'm getting back to the genuine feels of it. And I always do the Twitch outro now, so I'm like programmed into that. So, yeah, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. Be sure, if you be well, stay safe, be well, yada yada. Blah, blah, my English is going, but so we'll leave it at that. Until next time, guys, stay gaming.